Hello, hello, welcome. The rain has dropped. The bass has not dropped this morning. Kind of a strange day of programming on the SDH Network. No morning show. Training camp is opening up for Atlanta United. I will be there. Mike Conti and Knox Bardeen from 92.9 The Game will be there as well. So make sure you're following 92.9 The Game on all your social media devices and networks to get the latest from today. Dukes and Bell will also be broadcasting live from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground for their show from 2 to 7 with a lot of Atlanta United guests. So I wanted to check in with everybody to kind of set the scene for the day and what's happened since we last talked on Friday morning. And actually, it's a lot. Let's start in the Atlanta United world. So I don't think anyone was massively surprised to see Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez in the lineup for Xolos on Friday night. I think maybe it was a surprise how everything happened on Friday. And let's kind of walk through it quickly. You had Fernando Mesa, who is now part of Atlanta United, pop up, according to reports out of Mexico, as a registered player for Tijuana, which there had been no discussion of a move from Necaxa to Tijuana. That caught everybody by surprise. Then the announcement comes that LGP is being transferred to Tijuana, then quickly followed up by the announcement that Fernando Mesa is being transferred from Tijuana to Atlanta. Now, if you think the MLS intra-league rules of roster moves and how things happen is hard to follow, go try it in Liga MX. There are unwritten rules that are hard to follow, let alone written rules that are hard to follow. Maybe this is one of those situations. There have been players who have moved from Tijuana to Necaxa in the last 10 days or so ahead of the start of the Clausura season. Don't know if that's related to Mesa or not. No clue. No reporting on this out of Mexico. I wonder if we'll ever hear that side of it. But does this potentially help Atlanta United in terms of a salary cap hit for Mesa? Yeah, it absolutely could. There's no way to know unless transfer fees and such are reported, and nothing's come out as of yet. But instead of making moves with two separate teams, now it's one team that Atlanta United is interacting with. Don't know if the actual transaction was the same transaction with the two or not. There's no way to know how this is being processed, and how it's processed is going to be what affects that salary cap hit. Because if it's part of a player swap with money moving as well, that changes the effect of a cap hit as opposed to paying a transfer fee for the player on top of a salary. Now, Fernando Mesa will utilize targeted allocation money to not be counted as a designated player. So you know that his cap hit was something that is tricky. You know, it's something you want to keep to a minimum because Atlanta United wants to maximize the ability to use the cap in all facets of this roster. We know the situation with Julian Gressel. He is on the media list for training camp interviews on Friday. Players and Frank de Boer will speak today, so be on the lookout for all of that from your favorite Atlanta United media members. I'm expecting to see everybody here at the training ground in a few minutes. This morning's report's actually brought to you by Bojangles and the Country Ham and Egg Biscuit, which was excellent, by the way, reporting from the parking lot, waiting to head over to the training ground. Other things to keep in mind today, outside of the Atlanta United world. I wanted to hit these with you before the day gets too far gone. So, LAFC, a lot of questions about what their roster is going to look like this season, specifically at goalkeeper. Tyler Miller's out of contract. They haven't signed anybody. Bob Bradley was quoted by the LA Times with this: "There's a lot to put together. We will use January to get ready to start Champions League, but we'll also be working on finalizing a roster, which will include bringing in different players to look at." New York City has announced a preseason roster for the Florida Cup, which will start for them this upcoming weekend. Gideon Zalalem has joined them on a deal coming over after I think a disappointing season is a fair way to put it in Kansas City. I think a somewhat expected season, though, coming back from injury, just trying to get the rust off and get back into a rhythm. I think he's a good fit for what we've seen from New York City. The question is, new manager Ronnie Deila, how different is New York City going to look than what we've seen in the past? The big thing to keep an eye on today are reports out of Spain, because they're getting pretty strong that Javier Hernandez, Chicharito, could actually become a member of the LA Galaxy pretty soon. Kevin Baxter filed a report at the LA Times last night. Spanish newspaper Marca reported over the weekend that Sevilla has agreed to the transfer fee, $10 million. That would be about a $1.5 million profit for them after they brought him over from West Ham this summer. Now Hernandez's representatives are scheduled to meet with the Galaxy to work out a contract. Believe he's on a contract paying about $3 to $3.5 million a year at Sevilla. It's got, I want to say, 2.5 years left at this stage. I think it was a 3-year deal signed this summer. Those numbers are manageable in the MLS world, especially if you're going to commit to being a transfer, or to being that transfer fee that's going to put you as a designated player anyway. So, are you going to give him a little bit more to make the jump to MLS? Potentially, and I'm sure he's going to ask. And I think if your transfer fee is $10 million, and you've got room to go up on salary, look, they were paying Zlatan a lot more than that, you're going to get your money back out of this deal. This is a transformative kind of move for MLS, but also for the LA Galaxy in terms of a fan favorite. As big as the reaction was for Zlatan, it's going to be even bigger for Chicharito if this deal happens. Galaxy spokesman called the report from Marca optimistic, said nothing has been agreed upon, but he did confirm the two sides are in advanced negotiations. Another one that sounds like advanced negotiations, Luis Amarilla, looking to be headed to Minnesota United on loan for 1 year. He's under contract to Vélez Sarsfield. Last year, he was part of Universidad Católica's title-winning team in Ecuador. 23 goals in 24 matches, developed at Libertad in his native Paraguay. Reports from MLSsoccer.com, Tom Bogert, Colorado Rapids are bringing in Nicolas Benezet, who you will remember from the Toronto FC squad last season. Bringing him over from Guingamp, $500,000 transfer fee, which was reportedly the same amount the option was for Toronto to make that deal permanent. They have to send $50,000 in GAM to Toronto for his rights, a further $50,000 in GAM pending performance-based incentives. Colorado's still looking to add another designated player, an attacking midfielder, and they want to add a young elite prospect. So Benezet joins about 50 other wingers on the Colorado Rapids roster, it feels like. Jonathan Lewis, Sam Nicholson, Andre Shinyashiki, Diego Rubio, who can play up top. I want to see how Robin Fraser makes it work, but Fraser worked with Benezet last year. Fraser was the assistant in Toronto before he left to take the job in Colorado, so they have a relationship that was reportedly part of Benezet's decision to come to Colorado. LAFC reportedly adding another young South American player, Ecuadorian midfielder Jose Cifuentes. This is coming from Ecuagol. $3 million transfer, 4-year deal. There are pictures in Ecuador of Cifuentes posing alongside John Thorrington, who's the general manager, director of soccer operations for LAFC, with pen and paper in hand. That's usually a pretty good sign that something's about to happen. Rumors continue in Miami about Club America's Colombian Roger Martinez. $15 million rumored price tag. Is that going to get done? That's a lot of money for Roger Martinez. I think he'll do well, but it's a huge commitment. Ivis Galarcep reporting that Cincinnati is after PSV creative midfielder Gaston Pereiro, Uruguayan, 24 years old. He's been a regular at PSV. He's been really good at PSV. Transfermarkt has it as an 8-figure valuation for him. It's going to take a lot of cash from Cincinnati to make that one happen. That would be an eye-opening move for Cincinnati. I think it's doable, but it would be, I think, a clear-cut change in what FC Cincinnati is all about. Montreal is linked to Haitian defensive midfielder Steven Saba, probably as a reserve or to pair with Samuel Piet. He just has to pass the medical to join the Impact. 12 caps for Haiti. Big part of Haiti's run to the 2019 Gold Cup. The other thing from Friday that I think got overshadowed by a lot of the other news was Brian McBride being hired as the new general manager of the U.S. men's national team. I like the move. I like McBride a lot. I think he's a very smart guy. I've had the chance to interview him a couple of times, and I like the way he sees the game. I like the way he thinks about the game. This is a different role. We've seen him on TV. Again, I like his mindset about the game. I think he understands the program really well. He's got a good base of experience. This is an administrative role, and he's going to be tasked with overseeing everything that Greg Berhalter's doing. I think he can be a very valuable asset to U.S. soccer in this role, and we'll see if he's given the resources to get everything done. Got to get these youth coaches in place first off, and if that's McBride's purview, then I'm sure that's going to be one of the first things on that checklist for him, but I'm looking forward to it. This was a move that made me feel a little bit better about the national team program. So, that's it for the morning edition, your breakfast snack. Heading over to the training ground now. Be on the lookout on my social media at Longshoe. Be on the lookout for at Soccer Down Here, obviously, and for 92.9 The Game at 929 The Game. Mike Conti, myself, Knox Mardine will be doing lots of different things at the training ground. I'll be on with Dukes and Bell later on. I'm sure Mike will. Lots of guests from Atlanta United as well. That's from 2 to 7. So thanks for listening. Talk to y'all later.